Eric Swallow, how are you? We're so happy that you had so many students signed to play at the collegiate level this past week.
Good. Yes, we did. Last week, in fact, we had 4 student athletes sign Division I National Letter of Intent, and we also had 1 student athlete sign a Division II National Letter of Intent. So that speaks highly of those individual sports programs, as well as the fact that those student athletes have made the commitment to project and play on at the college level.
So what are the differences between divisions in college?
There is a distinction between Division I, Division II, and Division III. Specifically, with Division I and Division II, you are required to register with an NCAA National Clearinghouse, basically to establish academic eligibility to project and play on at the college level. It is mandated by the NCAA that you enter into the college realm with a 2.3 cumulative grade point average. That's so that you can secure athletic financial aid. At the Division I level, in particular, every institution is allotted a specific number of athletic scholarship packages that are certified by the NCAA. But on that note, every institution can either determine that they want to max at that scholarship level or go below that scholarship level. So it's very important that a student athlete be aware of the fact that to receive athletic aid at the Division I level and even the Division II level is very difficult because the aid is quite restricted.
That's terrific. I just want to let folks know, too, that on our NCAA page, we do have the link so they can actually sign their student athlete up with the NCAA Clearinghouse.
Yeah, that's important. I think one of the things that we've tried to establish is a link to different resources for the community, as well as student athletes and their parents, so that they can access and have a greater understanding of what's required in order to go on and play and project to college athletics.
So what's the best way for a student athlete to begin marketing themselves if they want to go to a particular college?
I think that's what you just said right there. Market themselves is important. Having the experience of being a former college coach, you are obviously looking continuously for student athletes that potentially could come to your institution to meet the academic parameters to attend, but also obviously have the athletic ability to potentially be an impact player at the college level. I think the one thing that I mentioned a moment ago is that you need to do it early. I think one of the things that there's a misconception in out there is that, well, they'll find me. Well, it's not that easy. It's a big country, it's a big world, and now college recruiting is not just national, it's international. So you do have to make the effort to get out and basically not necessarily have them recruit you, but you got to recruit the schools of your choice. I think if you develop and establish that type of relationship with that institution, they're going to be more inclined to want to come and see you play in a different setting. It may not always be your high school setting. It might be a club, AAU type of environment, or American Legion type of environment. Depends on your specific sport. But it is important to market yourself and do that early. I think that one of the things that you should look to do is sit down your junior year, whether that's with your guidance counselor or with your coach, and more or less come up with a list of schools that you're interested in. And then it's important to basically make or touch base communication-wise by way of letting them know that you are interested in a specific school, to let them know specifically what your involvement is in athletics, what programs you're involved in, so that they might potentially be able to see you play the summer of your junior year. That's a critical time frame, your junior year, because that's when schools are ramping up and starting to look at their recruiting for the following year. And that's one of the things that, from my experience, I always did, is that by the time December rolls around, or January 1st, you're already cycling through and looking at the next year's class. So the junior year is critical in terms of reaching out, communicating with schools, reaching out and marketing yourself, trying to show those schools that you do have an interest, letting them know where you are playing and where you potentially can be seen. That's important. And then thirdly, visit the schools. Visit the school from the standpoint, is that the right academic fit? That's the key thing. Sometimes I think student athletes make the bad choice by thinking, well, I want to go play a specific sport there, but they really need to look at from the perspective of what school they're attending, what are their academic interests, because realistically, the odds of going on beyond the NCAA college experience is difficult and is very limited. So you need to look at it from a purely an academic perspective, and then try to match that with a level of play or a school where you feel comfortable with the program, you feel comfortable with the coach, you feel comfortable with the student athletes, and there again, that might be a good opportunity for you to have a good college experience in terms of academics as well as athletics.
Now, what type of, I'll call it again, a marketing package should an athlete put together? Are videos important? Is it?
I think videos can be overrated sometimes. I think that a good cover letter, basically identifying the fact that you are interested in that institution, a resume in terms of key points. Also, an important piece is references. In almost every case, athletics is a small network. If you list 4 or 5 people that coach can contact and identify the leagues that you're in or the associations you're in, I'm going to be more inclined to reach out and try to identify, hey, what do you know about this student athlete? What type of character, what type of ability do they have? What are their academic parameters and credentials? Those are important pieces because in most cases, you're going to reach out, you're going to try to work with a coach that has had that student athlete or someone that has had an experience with that student athlete, because that's going to go a long way in terms of marketing. But I also think, going back to what I said earlier about a resume just listing the levels that you've played at, the high school you attend, who the coach is, and some of the clubs that you might have been affiliated with, and where you're going to be playing over the course of the summer. That's important too, because as, again, a former college coach, I spent a lot of time on the road going to tournaments throughout the course of the summer to try to identify juniors. So those are some of the key things that I would really focus on.
Now, once the coach contacts you, what happens as far as visits? How many visits can you have before you make a decision?
At the Division I college level, you're allowed 5 official paid visits. That means that institution will pick up your travel expenses, your housing expenses, your meal expenses. But at the same time, that shouldn't refrain somebody from going to look at another school, because you can go to any school and organize a visit that could be considered an unofficial visit. An unofficial visit is obviously the institution isn't picking up any of the costs, but at the same time, that doesn't mean you can't sit down with that coach at that specific institution and learn a little bit more about it. So if you are in a position to visit schools, it's important to identify whether it's an official visit or an unofficial visit. But officially you have 5. Unofficially, you can have as many as you want.
Now, is there any bewares you should tell us about when you're actually trying to look at a specific school, or some things you may not want to do on a visit? Or
I think the one thing I always try to encourage, and I tell student athletes this, is meet the student athletes. The coach is important. Obviously, the coach is there. He's there to promote his program and market his program. But talk to the student athletes, because I think you're going to get a real sense of how the program is run, how things are going in terms of their recruiting practices, their training practices, their academic support practices. I think that's an important piece as well. So I think it's important to not just always meet with the coach individually, but also meet with the student athletes. And again, to follow up, as I said before, meet with some of the academic faculty members, meet with an advisor at that individual campus to get a sense of what type of support you're going to have if you go play at that specific school.
That's terrific. If you want more information, you can go on to our NCAA page right here on southingtonsports.com.
Thank you.